There is a version of you that most people will never meet, a version that does not collapse when someone leaves. A version that does not beg for attention, validation, or approval. A version that can lose everything and still look at the situation calmly and say, "I will rebuild." That version is not born from an easy life. It is built through pain, disappointment, rejection, loneliness, failure, and moments when you have no choice but to become stronger. This is the psychology of resilience. And if you learn how to build it, something strange happens. People who once controlled your emotions suddenly lose their power over you. People who expected you to break become confused when you remain calm. And people who were comfortable with your weakness may become uncomfortable with your strength. Resilience does not mean you never feel pain. It means pain no longer controls your decisions. Think about the strongest people you know. They are not necessarily the loudest people in the room. They do not need to prove themselves constantly. They can sit in silence. They can walk away. They can accept rejection without destroying their self-worth. That is psychological strength. The first step toward building it is learning to separate what happens from how you respond. Someone can disrespect you. Someone can betray you. Someone can reject you. Someone can misunderstand you. But none of those events automatically determines what you do next. Your first emotional reaction may be automatic. Your second response is where your power begins. Resilient people create a small space between the event and the reaction. They feel anger, but they do not immediately act from anger. They feel sadness, but they do not allow sadness to define their identity. They feel fear, but they move forward anyway. That small pause can completely change your life. The second principle is becoming comfortable with discomfort. Most people spend their lives trying to escape uncomfortable emotions. They distract themselves with entertainment. They constantly check their phones. They seek attention. They avoid difficult conversations. They quit when something becomes difficult. But psychological resilience grows when you deliberately teach your brain, "I can handle this." Take the difficult workout, the uncomfortable conversation, the lonely evening, the boring work, the rejection, the failure. Every time you survive discomfort without running away, your brain receives evidence that you are capable of handling difficult situations. Strength is not built by avoiding pressure. It is built by surviving pressure. The third principle is learning not to take everything personally. This is one of the most powerful psychological shifts you can make. Someone ignores your message, someone does not invite you, someone criticizes you, someone chooses somebody else, your mind may immediately create a story. "I am not good enough. They don't respect me. Something is wrong with me." But often you are reacting not to reality, but to your interpretation of reality. Resilient people ask a different question. What can I control here? You cannot control someone's opinion. You cannot control someone's loyalty. You cannot control whether someone understands you. But you can control your behavior, your standards, your boundaries, and the direction of your life. That is where your energy belongs. The fourth principle is developing emotional independence. If your happiness depends completely on other people's behavior, you have given them control over your mind. If someone compliments you, you feel valuable. If someone ignores you, you feel worthless. If someone loves you, you feel secure. If someone leaves, you feel destroyed. That is emotional dependence. Resilience means learning to say, "I appreciate love, but I do not need someone else's approval to know my value." You can love people without becoming dependent on them. You can care deeply without losing yourself. And you can walk away from someone without destroying your identity. The fifth principle is keeping promises to yourself. This is where real confidence begins. People often think confidence comes from appearance, money, popularity, or success, but deep confidence comes from self-trust. When you tell yourself you will wake up early and you do it, you build self-trust. When you say you will exercise and you follow through, you build self-trust. When you promise yourself you will stop chasing someone who does not value you, and you actually stop, you build self-trust. Every small promise kept becomes evidence. Your brain starts believing, I can trust myself. And when you trust yourself, rejection becomes less terrifying. Failure becomes less threatening. Being alone becomes less frightening. Because you know that whatever happens, you will not abandon yourself. The sixth principle is learning to lose without becoming a loser. Failure is not an identity. You failed at something. That does not mean you are a failure. A relationship ended. That does not mean you are unlovable. A business failed. That does not mean you are incapable. Someone rejected you. That does not mean you are worthless. Resilient people separate the event from their identity. They ask, what did this teach me? What can I improve? What will I do differently next time? This turns pain into information. And when you learn to extract lessons from suffering, your past stops being a prison and becomes training. Finally, build a mind that does not need to announce its strength. You do not need to tell everyone that you have changed. You do not need to post motivational quotes every day. You do not need to prove that you are unbothered. Real strength becomes visible through behavior. You stop arguing with people who want to misunderstand you. You stop chasing people who repeatedly ignore you. You stop explaining your worth. You stop reacting to every provocation. You become selective with your attention, and eventually, people notice something different. You are still kind. You are still human. You still feel deeply. But you are no longer easily controlled. That is the kind of resilience that can intimidate people. Not because you are cruel, not because you have become emotionless, but because your emotional center no longer belongs to the outside world. So remember this, you do not become mentally strong when life becomes easy. You become mentally strong when life becomes difficult, and you discover that you can handle it. Every rejection can teach you detachment. Every failure can teach you adaptation. Every disappointment can teach you patience. Every lonely chapter can teach you self-reliance. And every painful experience can become another brick in the foundation of a stronger mind. One day, you may look back at the person you used to be and realize something incredible. The things that once destroyed you now barely move you. The situations that once made you panic now make you think. The people you once feared losing are no longer controlling your peace. And that is when you understand the real meaning of resilience. You did not become fearless. You became stronger than your fear. You did not stop feeling pain. You stopped allowing pain to decide who you become. And once you reach that level of psychological strength, you become very difficult to break.